Hello there, this is Steve here in Sydney of the lay gnosis website truebluehealer.com. Can I just talk for a few minutes, get your attention about the Sally Morgan thing in England, where she has been awarded, she's a stage medium, she has been awarded £125,000 defamation in a court case against a magician called Xenon, actually a newspaper that conveyed one of his articles, the UK Daily Mail. And can I just point out to you a few things that you probably haven't thought of, and if you just walk yourself through them, you'll see that you could be played in a variety of ways. I have a good friend, Chris, in England, who writes to me. He's followed Sally Morgan, and he has deep suspicions that she's a fraud also. I don't follow her much at all, but I've seen a couple of alarming things where she just doesn't seem to function at all on YouTube. But can I just point out to you that if she can only function on stage, it's possible, in theory, that the magicians always advocate, that she's using some kind of radio link, such as in the FM stereo band or the surveillance band or something like that. And I would like to ask straight away to that theory that she's using a radio link with an earpiece, that you should be able to tune across the band with a scanning radio receiver that you can buy for $50 from an electronics shop, and literally tape record the voices sending information to her over a short-range radio link. I would ask the question, I'll put the question, why hasn't the magician done this? Why hasn't he produced tape recordings to show categorically that she's being fed information over a radio link? He hasn't, has he? He just hasn't done it. And any school kid can do this. A 12-year-old kid could do this. You just sit there with a scanning receiver on your lap in the audience. It's that easy. To avoid detection with such a simple scanning receiver trick, there's a few other ways she could be doing some communications. She could be using some kind of ultrasonic transmission like they used to use on old-fashioned television remote controls. A one-way ultrasonic link carrying voice. You can do that. It's poor quality, but it could work into an earpiece. Okay. That's more difficult to monitor because not many people carry ultrasonic receivers around with them. Now there's another method you could do it that would only seem to work on stage, and that is you could put an optical laser, a red spot laser, trained on her back so the audience can't see it, and it could carry modulated audio communication, basically a telephone circuit, through an optical laser. That would be very difficult, if not impossible, to bust. You'd have to see it. It could be organised so that the audience could never see the little red spot trained on her back, and she could have an array of phototransistor receivers on the back of her clothing, you see. That's fairly easy. The optical laser would go through her clothing. That's fairly easily done. A bunch of kids from high school could set that up, and it would be extremely difficult to bust, okay, to publicise, to show that you can actually demonstrate it. Now there's yet another way, a much more old-fashioned way, and that is just conductive electrical strips, tape, on the floor of the stage, and she's got contacts in her shoes carrying a wire up her leg to an earpiece. That's been done since the turn of the century, done by magicians galore everywhere. Basically it's a landline telephone connection to your feet. Okay, so a medium who can only work on stage might be embarrassed by being asked to work off stage because it's not going to work for them. Okay, so I'm suggesting to you here there's a few ways that she could be cheating, but it's fairly easy to bust them, isn't it? A bunch of school kids could figure out proofs to prove unequivocally, well, whether she's faking or not. Another possibility I'm asking you to countenance, and this is only a thought exercise, all of this video is just a thought exercise, but I want to put other possibilities to you. And it goes like this. Sally Morgan and the magician are actually in league. They're on the same team together. Because by saying certain things to each other in the media, making certain accusations between hero and demon in the media, the magician will receive vast amounts of money sent to him by very angry skeptics who for some strange reason have a morbid dislike, an irrational dislike of mediums who they think are all fake, So it's very easy for the magician to receive a most handsome income just by uttering a few denunciations in the media toward a selected medium. And many, many thousands of skeptics will send a lot of their hard-earned cash to the magician. Okay? So the magician makes money. Sally Morgan makes money. Whether she's innocent or half genuine or half real, she doesn't get full support from spirits all the time. It doesn't really matter. We've got to consider the possibility that Sally Morgan, the most paranoid possibility, Sally Morgan and the magician are actually in league, pumping money out of the public pocket, getting newspapers to take the defamation damage, £125,000, and that's the most paranoid sort of possibility, which I agree is unlikely, but it's made a lot of money before over the last 100 years, okay? Magicians making accusations of fraud against mediums makes money for two bunches of people. The medium gets sympathy money, right? And the skeptical magician gets skeptics' hard-earned cash in large sackloads, okay? In defence of Sally Morgan, I will point out, though I don't support her, I don't watch her, I don't follow her, I'll warn you now, that just because you may have a spiritual connection with the afterlife, it's not always a 24/7 crystal clear connection. You can also get spirits from the afterlife deliberately providing mis and disinformation, just to confuse people here in the physical plane. Maliciousness, cruelty continues in the afterlife. Okay? People take it with them to the afterlife. So, some spirits just don't know things, but they won't admit that. They just confabulate, rather like skeptics do here on the physical plane. And other things about the imperfect operation of some mediums may include the fact that she has to be in a trance state and require some kind of preparation. And caught unawares, she can't function. Just like athletes do better when they're allowed to prepare. So you can cut her some slack there. But it's not as crystal clear, is it? Winning the defamation case doesn't really mean a whole lot of things. Just that the newspaper backed down because they didn't want to lose any more money. But mysteriously, why hasn't the magician been able to get tape recordings of the radio link carrying all the information by the alleged conspirators feeding information to her earpiece? Why hasn't the magician, is it Paul Zenon, been able to do that? It's such an easy thing to do. It's kind of strange, isn't it, that he's incapable of doing this. And of course the most obvious thing would be that she's really just using a telephone with a Wi-Fi earpiece. I mean, that's not encrypted. You can catch that also with a scanning receiver in the 800 meg range. It's so easy to do. If the magician is so sure of himself, why can't he produce the evidence to support his own claims? That there's a radio link and earpiece being used. Every stage personality on the TV, including newsreaders, have earpieces. Does that mean they're all cheats and frauds and liars? I mean, it just doesn't really mean that, does it? It's a standard television accoutrement, isn't it? The earpiece. You see it on everybody being interviewed on the television. So does it automatically mean fraud, lying and fakery? It's so ubiquitous, you can't make any conclusion from it. So Steve here in Sydney, and I'll leave you with that final thought, okay? Bye-bye.